everyone, and welcome back. I'm with Supervisor John Plasse. John, you testify yesterday at the meeting?
Myself and Gene Mancebo were there to testify on behalf of many of the Amador County agencies.
Okay, did any citizens get an opportunity as well?
They tried, but were not allowed to speak beyond stating their name and whether they support or oppose the bill.
Okay, did the proponents for it speak?
Yes, the proponents.
Did they have opportunity to speak?
Yes, I would say there was great deference paid to the proponents of the bill. They were allowed to not only have the senator carrying the bill speak at length in favor of it, but also on top of that, 3 more speakers speak at length in favor of the bill. When we got up to express our opposition to the bill, myself and Gene Mancebo spoke in opposition to the bill, and from that point on, anybody else that wanted to speak, aside from the fact that Gene and I were cut short in our allowed time.
We were cut short. About approximately how much time did you have to put forward the Amador County's case? I imagine you were speaking as a supervisor.
I was, and we were just encouraged by Chairman Pavley of the Natural Resources Committee to wrap it up, so to speak.
Because they had heard everything already? Did we write something to them beforehand?
Yes, okay. We submitted our letters of opposition. Multiple agencies did.
I
represented to her and to the committee that the cumulative vote total of all elected officials in both Amador and Calaveras counties, whether those elected officials be water agency board members or local government board members, the cumulative vote total was 29-6 in opposition of the bill. Now, these are the people's elected representatives from both counties that overwhelmingly were opposed to this bill, but it mattered not to this committee.
We want to move on some. I believe Cecily Smith has written that all current uses, and she's the Foothill Conservancy, the executive director now, I believe, that all current uses of the McCollum River would be continued with that designation. This was maybe several weeks ago. Is that still the same case?
Well,
from what you heard?
I'm sure you can make that statement, but with what certainty? I have no idea. She's made the statement that all current uses. Well, does that mean the exact limit, the exact amount of water we're currently diverting from the river and the exact amount of water releases that are negotiated with the hydroelectric plants and the exact points of diversion that are currently being used now can continue? That's probably accurate, but if you want to move a diversion point where you could, for instance, the gravity supply line, you're diverting water from upstream so gravity can do the work instead of diverting it via pump stations downstream, would projects like that be hindered by the overlay of a wild and scenic designation? I think so.
How about businesses or private property owners?
Oh, the private property issue is one that's really got me disturbed, Tom, because the Foothill Conservancy, when they spoke before our board, represented that they worked with private property owners, heard their concerns, and specifically drafted into this bill an exception for the private property ownership group that we know as the Rodman family that runs Roaring Camp. Probably has brought more tourism to that river corridor than any 10 wild and scenic designations ever will. But in spite of that, though the Rodman family came to the Board of Supervisors meeting and also said, Mr. Rodman said, I consider Catherine a friend. But he said, I don't feel, and my family does not feel protected by having our little short section of the river excluded from the Wild and Scenic Act, and therefore I don't support Wild and Scenic. Catherine laid claim that she was ironically protecting the Rodmans from the protection instrument of the river, the Wild and Scenic Act. When the Rodmans didn't support their proposal to list wild and scenic in what has really got to be one of the more despicable political retribution maneuvers I've seen at the local level, the sponsors of the bill, either the Foothill Conservancy or Friends of the River, offered an amendment yesterday in the subcommittee hearing to reverse the exclusion for the Rodman family's private property on the river and include it as well into the definition of the segments of wild and scenic that will be designated on the river. In complete political retribution.
So there were
for-
amendments taken before it was recommended to pass out of committee.
Yes, it was yesterday.
John, what about the process that you know of now? Now what is, I know you're local. This seems like it should be a local issue, or certainly we
You would think there'd be some deference paid.
there.
You would think.
Well, especially after all of the arguments that I've heard from the Foothill Conservancy that, anything that how many times have we heard like that we're just running our water down to San Francisco and giving it to San Francisco if we don't do this or if we don't do that.
Right.
And yet it seems that we have a San Francisco area senator going to wind up
Carrying the
writing a bill
legislation.
to say, well, that's right, we'll get your water. You
Yeah,
don't get to-
exactly.
you
Carry
don't get to,
legislation that says, Amador, we're gonna work to restrict your ability and access to your water rights on the McCollum, so that plumber's rule, it all flows downhill, benefits the East Bay.
Right, especially seeing that it's going down there anyway. There was nothing passed. We have no dams that were passed, off-stream dams, this or that, raising of reservoirs or anything. They were never put in place. So it's almost like as if you had the wild and scenic designation, without having it.
Right.
Everyone's using it.
The river is the river.
Okay,
And-
so-
And it doesn't have any more marketable benefits as a river or tourist attraction after the designation than it does before.
Okay, but to basically make this real clear, and I guess that's where I'm coming from, is that the local politicians that represent the members here in the community, the citizens in the community that are the water area of
Area of origin.
are out of the picture as how to use it now.
Tom, yesterday's meeting indicated that mobilized political ideology trumps duly elected officials' representation of their constituencies
So-
at the state of California now.
Okay, so where does it go now? How long until it gets voted on? And by the way, I wanted to ask, how about our state representatives, Senator Berryhill and Tom Bigelow?
Yeah.
Did I get Tom Bigelow's name
Yeah,
right?
you
He's
got
not
Tom Berryhill and Frank Bigelow.
Okay.
You got me there, Tom.
Sorry, guys.
That's okay.
Sorry, guys.
But we have been in contact with both of our representatives at the state level. It was said that the opportunity for them to carry the bill was offered to them prior to it going to Oakland. Their local representative and staffer, Dana Jorgensen, has disputed both of those claims, said that Tom Berryhill was sort of blindsided on the floor of the Senate by Senator Hancock asking him to co-sponsor the bill that she had drafted already, and when in the next 2 days as he was reaching out to us, she didn't hear back from him, she brought the bill forward on her own without his co-sponsorship, probably recognizing that he had no interest in co-sponsoring it, but it doesn't
Right,
matter
so,
to them.
So in a way, without the biggest government, federal government, pushing the bill and moving it forward, then it was shopped to the next biggest government, the state government, to go ahead and ace out local control.
And the concern, too, is when you mention federal and state, the process for designation at the federal level usually is sponsorship by the congressman from that area that sponsors the bill at the federal level. Now, if it achieves state designation as wild and scenic, the process to move it to federal will be the simple request by the governor of the state to the Secretary of the Interior at the federal level with no congressional hearing or oversight or vote on it at all. Strictly a request from the governor to the Secretary of Interior.
We only have a short period of time. I don't know if many people know, but there was like a 6-state solution that's in California. The possibilities of voting on it are probably nil. It didn't get any traction. I haven't heard anybody speaking about it. But to have one part of the state be run over by another part of the state that have totally different interests and uses and historical whatever. Everyone knows sometimes I'm at a loss for words, but probably understands what I need. Maybe there would get some more traction if that ever comes back up or we have an opportunity again.
One would
Clearly,
one would hope.
we
Government closest to the people has always been the best form of government, and the way our state and federal countries and state is going is
one last
certainly
quick
not.
question. Any legal remedies?
Not that I've been made aware of in my communications with legal counsel on these topics. The legislature basically can do as the legislature darn well pleases, and when
It can step out of process when it pleases?
that's what we were told yesterday by the chair of the subcommittee. In spite of the fact that the process is usually to recommend for potential
We
addition.
can't get it in a CEQA or have a CEQA look at
I need
it?
another CEQA lawsuit. That seems to be the claim to success by our opponents on a regular basis.
Okay, okay, all right. Well, anything more you would like to say? Where we at? Where we at now? How can people pressure anything?
I would say that at the end of the meeting yesterday, Tom, there was a recognition that some of the major amendments that were put into the Cache Creek designation for Lake County are something that should definitely be discussed. Further amendments to the bill needs to be discussed through the senator actually following through on reaching out to affected local agencies. And if we're able
Who
to
would do that? The body at large then of the Senate, since it's passed out of committee?
No, supposedly the senator herself will work with those affected agencies up in our counties.
So that was spoken about doing that?
It was recommended by senators on the committee from both sides of the aisle
Okay.
that continuing amendment and communication is the order of the day.
Okay, well, that's a bit of good news, John.
A bit.
A bit, okay. Well, thanks for watching TSPN. Stay with us. There's more coming up right after this.
You're watching Amador County's local television network, TSPN.